The reason why manifestation is not coming easy to you is because you actually don't realize that manifestation is your nature, and you're being distracted by the ego, the false self, that actually pulls you away from your true nature, which is consciousness, because you haven't really mastered the ego and know how to put the ego in its proper place. But what I want to share with you is the way to understand and master manifestation is to recognize the three most powerful tools toward creating the thing that you want. That is greatly accessible to you, is in fact something we often identify as who you are, but in fact, they're just tools. So I've shared with you before that you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your experiences, you are not your race, your gender, your orientation. Those are just expressions. Those are just byproducts, right? You are truly consciousness. That is the core of who you are. In order for you to truly come into understanding and remastery of manifestation, you have to recognize what I call the Trinity of Manifestation. The Trinity consists of the three major tools that will, in fact, guarantee your ability to materialize and manifest the things that you want when they are properly aligned. Now, when I say aligned, meaning that they don't contradict one another. They don't go against one another. They basically flow and have the same objective. You are lining them up together to make sure that they basically are on the same path, the same trajectory. And when you do that properly, then there's essentially nothing that you cannot materialize and create. So these three of the Trinity are mind, body, soul, or spirit. You've heard this many times before, but many times when we hear about it, we really don't take into consideration how it applies to you. How, in fact, this thing actually is something, though commonly heard and commonly taught, we don't really take into consideration the impact and how much emphasis and how much intensity we should be putting toward using these three tools. We just kind of disregard it and kind of take it for granted. But ultimately, these three things is all you need to focus on to actually create the life that you want. So let's get into it. When we think about the mind, ultimately, the mind's job is to process information. The mind's job not only processes information, but it directs you. It guides you. It points you in the direction by which you basically input information into it. So whatever you put into it, it's going to, right, subconsciously direct you toward that same thing. This is why thinking about who you speak to, your circle of friends, what you read, what you watch in movies and TV, what you listen to radio, all these different things, all of that information matters because that information is going to ultimately direct your mind toward creating the same. This is how, when we talk about law of attraction, like attracts like, it is because when you are giving yourself certain information, whether it be entertainment, whether it be relationships, whether it be, books or even your job, that information ultimately is curating and being fed into your mind. And your mind takes whatever it receives and then puts something else out as a result. So there is a cause and effect that's happening in your mind. Whenever you receive something, your mind takes it and makes it yours, so to speak, and then it puts it out into the world, into the universe. Thus, that's how you create your reality, ultimately. So you have to think about with your mind being really responsible about the input that you're receiving, because your mind is going to naturally only recognize that as a reality, as the universe that you are living in. And when you recognize that these things are cultivating your universe, then ultimately you are living in a space where you are almost creating that same thing as a reflection of what you're taking in. So you have to be mindful about what your intake is. You have to be cautious and you have to be careful about everything that you're consuming. So when we think about the mind, we're ultimately talking about your thoughts. What are your thoughts? Are your thoughts in line with what it is your consciousness desires? What it is you are passionate about? What it is that you dream about? What it is that you really, truly aspire to be and do throughout your life? What are your talents, right? So when you are being in a space where you are inspired by these thoughts and you are thinking about what if, and I wish I could, and, one day I will, you have to take into account that everything that you are consuming and receiving in your mind is essentially going to impact how you take the steps or how you walk along that path of creating and doing what you're meant to do. If you're taking in negative things, if you're taking in information of a low frequency, of a low vibration, ultimately things that are going to say, well, it is hard to do. Well, I don't have the resources. Well, the world is scarce, and you're building this lack mentality based on all the things that you're consuming and listening to and hearing, then that is going to stop you or slow you down greatly from actually pursuing that which your consciousness desires of you to do. So you have to be mindful about your thoughts. You have to be mindful about what you consume, but when you are thinking things and doing things and having a thought process behind what it is that you're doing or want to do, you have to be mindful about what it is that your ego, what it is that your subconscious mind, your conscious mind, what all aspects of your mind are essentially thinking, because your thoughts are going to then lead everything else thereafter. So the first thing in the Trinity is to really be mindful of your thoughts. You must really understand that your thoughts must coincide with your consciousness and your desires to do a particular thing. You have to understand that you create the reality of either a scarce mentality or a optimistic mentality, a mentality of abundance, a mentality of, you know what, I'm meant to do this. And regardless of the fact that many people aren't, and many people live in a world or create a world where they feel like they can't do a particular thing, that you have to say to yourself, I can, and I am doing this thing, right? This is who I am. This is why I am here. You are using your mind to allow your consciousness to express itself forward and allow your consciousness to find ways and solutions to actually create and manifest that purpose. All right. So you have to be mindful about your thoughts. So we covered the mind, and thoughts are the expression of the mind. Now we get into the body, right? Mind, body. Your body is responsible for action. And so when you do things with the body, understand that you are doing things to create a body, a machine that is actually going to move forward and make it physically possible or obtainable. You're going to actually literally and figuratively take the steps to actually create the thing that you desire along the path that you're on. So here we consider, okay, making sure your body is at its most optimal level, right? Exercise, being mindful about your diet, being mindful about your rest, okay? Making sure that you are taking care of your body, right? Proper hygiene, things of that nature that's going to allow your body to be its best in order for you to take the actions that the mind and your thoughts are actually wanting to do, needing to do in order for you to materialize and manifest this thing. Remember, your body is made for movement. Your body is the machine by which it is designed to take action, nothing else, okay? Everything that you do physically is to create a result. Everything that you do mentally is to create a result. Now you must take responsibility for this understanding and thus create the result that you desire by way of your consciousness. And finally, all right, we covered mind, right, which is to really be mindful about your thoughts. We covered body and the expression of mindful action and being responsible about optimizing the body and being healthy. Okay, and now we get into spirit. And now when we think about spirit, sometimes we think about consciousness, but really when I'm talking about spirit, I'm talking about emotions, right? the power of emotions, because when you're in your spirit, when you're tapped into your soul, that is an emotional expression or experience that you're having, right? You feel the most connected in your spirit, in your soul, when you are dialed in and being present with emotions. Emotions are vastly important because it fuels everything else. It gives power to your body to move and continue to move, to get excited, right? It gets your heartbeat going, right? It may cause you to have goosebumps. It may cause your palms to sweat, right? It may get you into a place of tapping into adrenaline, right? With the emotions, it also taps into your ability to think, because you're excited about what you're doing. So then you're more likely to find solutions and find problems and tap into the abundance that is you and make things, see possibilities in things. Okay. So all three of these things feed one another. Okay. When you are having the right thoughts, then it will engage your emotions. So if your thoughts are one of abundance, excitement comes with that. If your thoughts are one of lack and fear, then shutting down, sadness, depression comes with that. Okay. When your thoughts are one of abundance, when your thoughts are one of prosperity, you have emotions that create a sense of excitement. That excitement gets you moving toward taking action to create and do the things needed to materialize and manifest that result that you desire in this physical form. Now, say when you are, in your body and you're focusing on the physical, okay? If you are physically fit, then you are more inclined to feel more confident to have a thought process of, listen, I can do this, right? I ran a marathon. Therefore, I know how to put in the work and think strategically about how to prepare for something, how to train for something, how to think and approach and strategize something. So that gives your mind a sense of confidence, right? That confidence then leads back into your emotions and then allowing you to feel excited because now you have the confidence, you have the understanding that whatever you put your mind to, right, because of how you've trained your body, then you understand you can do it, okay? And that builds excitement. So all three of these things are connected with one another. This is why I call them the Trinity of Manifestation. And when you are lacking in one thing, it's not going to necessarily stop you from materializing what you desire, but it's going to slow things down, right? It's going to make things a little bit more difficult. So recognize that these three things is not an opportunity for you to create excuses, right? Say, oh, okay, I'm not physically fit, therefore I'm not going to be able to materialize what it is that I desire. That's not true. But when you think about all three of these things, you always remember to start at where you are strongest. Recognizing all the other two aspects or the two parts of the Trinity, then you can feed into those things and recognize, okay, so if I am mindful and I have a very smart, high level of intelligence, and I'm very strategic, then how can I strategize getting my body into a certain level of fitness? How do I strategize tapping into positive emotions, all right, in order for me to obtain and achieve the goals that I have, the goals of generating opportunity, abundance, love, and success? When you are mindful about how those three things connect, right, then you have a clear path as to how you can spiritually connect with all aspects of who you are and thus tap into the real divinity that is within you, right? That is truly you. Okay. Remember, your consciousness is your core. Everything else is a tool by which you are to use to actually materialize your purpose and thus help you come into the self-realization that you are the creator of your universe. Thank you so much. Feel free to go to drabundant.com, subscribe to my newsletter, and get access to this free ebook, The Power Within. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.